While millions of people are screaming at their TVs, painting their faces, and letting their entire mood collapse because 11 strangers lost a game, there's a quiet group of people watching all of this and thinking one thing: why does this matter so much? And here's the twist. According to psychology and neuroscience, people who don't obsess over sports aren't cold, boring, or disconnected. In many cases, their brains are simply wired differently. Stay with me, because by the end of this video, you'll understand why sports obsession feels completely natural to some people and almost impossible to relate to for others. Not caring about sports is often treated like a personality flaw. People assume you lack passion, that you're not competitive, that you're missing out on something everyone understands. But none of that is actually true. In fact, there's something fascinating happening beneath the surface, something that separates sports-obsessed minds from those who feel absolutely nothing when someone asks, "Did you see the game?" To understand this, we have to start with a very old part of the human brain, the tribal brain. Humans are tribal by nature. For thousands of years, survival depended on belonging to a group. Your tribe protected you, fed you, and gave you identity. Being accepted meant safety. Being excluded meant danger. Modern sports tap directly into that ancient wiring. When someone supports a team, their brain releases oxytocin, the same bonding hormone involved in family connection and trust. Their nervous system treats the team like a clan. The colors, the chants, the shared enemy, all of it creates a sense of belonging. In other words, sports aren't just entertainment. They're modern-day tribes with logos, rivalries, and merchandise. But here's where things split. People who don't obsess over sports often have lower tribal dependency. Their sense of identity isn't strongly tied to group membership. They're more individualistic. They don't need to merge their identity with something bigger to feel complete. Psychologists have found that people with low interest in sports show significantly less us versus them thinking. They don't automatically dislike the opposing team. They don't emotionally attach themselves to group victories or losses. Their brain simply doesn't latch on to tribal competition the same way. The dopamine difference. Now let's talk about addiction, because yes, sports fandom has addictive qualities. Every time a game is close, uncertain, or intense, the brain releases dopamine. That same anticipation you feel right before opening a gift, sports fans feel it constantly during games. Every play, every possession, every last-second moment. Brain scans show that watching a favorite team activates the same reward circuits involved in gambling. The anticipation is what fuels it. Not knowing whether your team will win keeps dopamine flowing. This is called intermittent reinforcement, the most addictive reward pattern known to psychology. It's the same mechanism that makes slot machines so hard to walk away from. But here's the key difference. People who don't care about sports don't get that dopamine spike from vicarious competition, meaning competition they're not directly involved in. Their reward system is tuned differently. Research even suggests genetics may play a role. Variations in dopamine receptor genes influence how strongly people respond to spectator competition. For some brains, watching others compete feels thrilling. For others, it feels empty. So if you've ever wondered why you feel absolutely nothing when a crowd is losing their mind, it might not be a choice. It might be biology. Self-esteem and identity. Sports fans experience something psychologists call basking in reflected glory. When their team wins, they say, "We won." When their team loses, suddenly it's "they lost." That subtle shift matters. People who don't obsess over sports tend to have a more stable self-concept. Their self-esteem doesn't rise and fall based on outcomes they can't control. They don't borrow identity from external victories. Their sense of worth comes from internal sources: personal growth, creativity, relationships, ideas, competence. This doesn't mean sports fans are insecure, it just means they regulate identity differently. One style leans outward, the other stays inward. Empathy isn't missing, it's redirected. Here's something surprising. Sports fans often score higher on certain empathy measures. They practice caring deeply about struggles, even when those struggles belong to strangers in jerseys. So why don't non-sports people feel that same emotional pull? Because empathy is a limited resource. People who don't care about sports often invest that emotional energy elsewhere. Art, music, nature, philosophy, social issues, personal relationships, creative projects. A 2021 study found that low sports interest strongly correlates with high openness to experience and appreciation for beauty, ideas, and meaning. They're still seeking emotional highs, just through different doors. The backstory no one talks about. For some people, not caring about sports isn't just preference, it's protection. Maybe they were excluded growing up. Maybe sports culture felt aggressive or alienating. Maybe competition always felt draining instead of motivating. Or maybe they simply never understood why adults scream at televisions. And sometimes it really is just boring to them. All of these reasons are valid. Meaning, two different paths. Sports fans find meaning in narrative, the comeback, the rivalry, the underdog, the dynasty. Non-sports people look at that and think, why emotionally invest in something I can't influence? Instead, they find meaning in things they can actively shape, learning, building, creating, connecting. Psychologists describe this as parasocial investment versus direct engagement. One group finds fulfillment in watching the story unfold. The other finds fulfillment in living inside it. Neither is better, they're simply different ways of being human. The quiet advantage. Interestingly, people who don't obsess over sports often report feeling more present in their own lives. They're not spending hours emotionally absorbed in someone else's struggle. They're engaged in their own. There's something quietly radical about that. So if you don't care about sports, you're not broken, you're not boring, you're not missing out. Your brain just prioritizes meaning, reward, and identity differently. And the next time someone asks, "Did you see the game?" and you genuinely don't care, remember this: you're not playing the wrong game, you're just playing a different one. If this video resonated with you, make sure you subscribe because the next one dives even deeper into a related topic, the psychology of people who like to be alone and why solitude actually changes how the brain processes the world. If you've ever felt different, quieter, or out of sync with the crowd, that video might explain more about you than you expect.